Now, where did I leave my pruners? No. Tell me I didn't. Not again. Yep, it wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last time that I leave my pruners out in the elements. You know though, no matter how well I look after my garden tools during the growing season, by this time of year, they're starting to look a little worn, if not rusty and decrepit. The rigors of cutting down all those stems at the root collar, often clanking a stone or two along the way, puts the miles on these guys faster than you think. With that said, now, right before winter, is a perfect time to give our garden tools a little extra care, clean them up, and restore them to their former glory. And not only that, we're going to do it with just 2 ingredients that are safe, environmentally friendly, biodegradable, and you likely already have them in your kitchen. Hey, before we get into it, let's take a minute and talk about the importance of maintaining our tools, especially the scissor type ones. It's ironic, I know, as here I am leaving my tools out in the rain to rust while preaching the importance of care. But it's important we do it for 3 reasons. First, cleaning up your tools at the end of the year, after we've cut down all the spent rotting plants, can not only help stop disease, but also prevent fungal outbreaks. Second, cleaning and maintaining your tools will make them last longer, saving you money in the long run, and keeping them out of the landfill. And finally, clean tools just work better. Stop struggling to get those thick stems cut. Maintained and looked after, your tools like scissors and pruners will do the job better, faster, and easier. All right, so we know the whys. How do we get started? Well, it's a 4-step process that's easier than you think. Let me show you how. All right, guys. First up, we need to dry and superficially clean the tools. Remove any obvious dirt or debris as much as possible. This is important because the cleaner the tools are now, the better our first ingredient is going to work in step 2. One optional step you can do after cleaning is to take the tool apart. If it's got more than one piece, and a lot of the higher end tools do, it'll give you access to all the surfaces and do a more thorough job as a result. Look at all those bits that we wouldn't have access to if we didn't disassemble the pruners. All right, with our tools all clean, in my case, these rusty pruners, we're ready for step 2 and our first ingredient. And that's just vinegar. We want to soak the rusty parts of our tools in a 50-50 vinegar water bath solution for at least 4 hours. The acid from the vinegar should eat away at those rusty parts, making the cleaning and the restoration super easy. Remember from Chemistry 101, always add your acid to the water and not the other way around. 50-50 is what we're after, and you can just use a shallow dish for this, but we're trying to submerge all the parts that are rusted. Make sure you use enough of the solution to completely submerge all of the parts. Okay, like we said, we gotta let this sit for about 4 hours, or longer if you want to. The weak acid solution of the vinegar isn't gonna hurt the metal at all. There's quite a few tutorials out there that are gonna rely on sandpaper, wire brushes or scrubbies, or other abrasives. I'm really trying to avoid those things, which we'll touch on later, so this acid bath is probably our most important step. After just a couple of minutes, the acid gets right to work on that rust. It doesn't actually dissolve the rust particles themselves. What it does is it loosens up their grip on the metal, making them much easier to remove. And this brings us to why we soak them in a weak acid and why we soak them for so long in the first place. We do this because we want to avoid scrubbing, scratching, or scraping the rust off the tools as much as possible. You see, by using those harsh methods like sandpaper or steel wool, you're actually creating micro abrasions on the metal itself, creating even more surface area for that rust to take hold. For sure, you can definitely sand down your pruners nice and clean, but very shortly, care or not, the rust is going to come back, and it's going to come back even worse than before. Okay, back to our bath. After about an hour, rust particles are actually falling off on their own, and the acid is fast at work for the remaining areas. This is brilliant. And after 4 hours, wait till you see the results. A substantial amount of rust has fallen off all on its own. Without any intervention on our part, just soaking in that weak acid is enough to remove 90% of the rust. Not to mention, now we can also see the benefit of taking the tools apart to get every nook and cranny clean. Okay, at this point, we can remove the tools from the acid bath and move on to step 3. However, if you have a particularly rusty set of tools, you can leave them in a bit longer, no problem. With those rusty spots sufficiently loosened, now is the time to get a soft, non-abrasive cloth and manually remove any of the remaining rust. If you've soaked it for long enough, the rust should come off without too much effort. Really try to remove all of it though, even from the little parts like screws and springs. Take your time here and really try to get all those rusted bits off. There's really no point going through all the effort up to this point just to leave some rust on there. Okay, once you're confident that all the rust has been removed and your tool is completely dry, we can go ahead and grab our second ingredient. And that's vegetable oil. Many tutorials are going to suggest a synthetic oil, but you know what? You can just use vegetable oil and it works just as good. Safer for your plants and the environment. What would you rather be using around your food crops? Chemical synthetic oil or a natural one like this? Spread the oil on with a napkin or Q-tip, trying to coat all the corners and crevices where rust may reappear. Coat the blades, the springs, all the screws, everything. Not much, just a little protective sheath to repel moisture and keep that rust at bay. All right, after you've coated everything, if you've taken your tool apart, now is the time to reassemble. Take your time, really try to tighten all those screws evenly and firmly. At this point, we're done. We can safely store the tools for winter, ready for action next spring. For pruners and scissors though, now is a perfect time to resharpen those blades. You can do this before the oiling process or after. It doesn't matter. Just take any $10 carbide tool sharpener, hold it at a 45-degree angle to the blade, and take 7 to 10 firm swipes away from you. Long, uninterrupted swipes is what you're after. You want to get rid of any little nicks and dings that these pruners may have gotten over the course of the year. Once you've done one side, flip the pruners over and do the other side. Again, 7 to 10 long, uninterrupted swipes, nice and firm, away from you. Good as new. Hey, even though it is a simple, straightforward process, let's do a recap, hitting all the most important points. Restoring your rusty garden tools is quite easy. And while it may take about 4 hours or so, your time spent hands-on should be less than 10 minutes per tool. Start by wiping off all debris and dirt from the tools you want to restore. Next, submerge the rusted tools either together or in pieces for 4 hours or more in a 50-50 solution of water and simple vinegar. After sitting in the acid bath for a sufficient time, take a soft cloth and wipe down the tools, removing all the rust while simultaneously drying them. As a final protective measure, coat all the metal pieces with regular store-bought vegetable oil using a napkin or cotton swab. It's just that easy. It's kind of nice to not only care for our tools, but to also have the ability to restore them back to near new. It feels good, and it's good for the planet. Happy growing, guys. Hey, thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate the support more than you know. And if you're getting value from these videos, please like and share them to spread the word and help your fellow gardener to grow better.